Now, we have been distracted by what's been happening in Victoria, but all this week I am trying to do what almost nobody else on television or radio is doing, and certainly not in the newspapers, which is to talk about thousands of workers who are stuck behind the artificial, overly policed state borders. They are tested every day when they go to work for coronavirus. But because, particularly in Western Australia, if you have a family in New South Wales and you leave that family to go to work in Western Australia, you have to spend 2 weeks in quarantine. This is unpaid time in quarantine. So when you only have 4 weeks a year leave, you end up soaking up half of your holidays just going to work. So there are thousands of workers, men and women, who are stuck in Western Australia. They are essentially economic prisoners right now, because the state government is more than happy for the dirt under their fingernails and the royalties that are produced, but they're not allowed to go and see their families. So this week we are trying to show you the human face of this pig-headedness. There are people who have not seen their families since March, since February. People whose kids cry every single night because they don't know when dad or mum is coming home. Danica DiGiorgio reached out to many of these people, and their stories should move our leaders.
It's a roller coaster. It's emotional. We get our hopes up that things are coming good, and then, the goalposts move. It's the world of the unknown. Just nothing to sort of look forward to, and knowing that when my husband does go back, we're going to miss him terribly, and we just don't know when it will be when we see him again, because you have to pay the bills, you have to pay the mortgage,
Sally, her husband and their 2 children have just spent an emotional 108 days apart. He's a fly-in, fly-out worker in Western Australia. She's in Adelaide looking after the little ones. Right now, they're relishing every moment they have together while he is temporarily home.
And we made the decision to bring him home for a 2-week rest.
Due to Western Australia's hard border closure and no special exemption for FIFO workers, Sally's husband was forced to spend 2 weeks in quarantine, and he will have to do it all again when he leaves for WA next week. It means less time with his boy and girl aged 8 and 6.
It is unpaid, so we then have to make the choice: do we use up annual leave, which means there's no time off as a family again at Christmas, or do we just go leave without pay and see how we manage? It comes down to sort of a food on the table, roof over our head, or another visit home.
Sally is holding the family together.
One of my children is on the autism spectrum, so planning and knowing what's happening is really, really important for managing her anxiety. I'm worried when he goes back for the 2 weeks how he's going to cope with that, and with our stresses, I try not to put too much onto him, being alone and not having anyone with him.
There are around 60,000 FIFO workers in WA. 6,000 of them are from interstate. It's the group that has been impacted the most. They've been left stranded for months. The fly-in, don't fly-out rosters are tearing families apart.
Actually caused a lot of fights between myself and my partner. She's just over it, obviously, and I'm over it too. It's really taken a toll on our relationship. So as soon as I'm back there, I'll have to try and patch all that back up. She understands we've got a big mortgage and I can't quit my job, but at the end of the day, you can't just go on JobKeeper and have a huge mortgage, you know what I mean? You have to work.
Troy, who wants to remain anonymous, is in Karratha. He's desperate to get back to New South Wales to his wife and 2 young kids. He hasn't seen them since February 29.
It's really hard, especially with Sienna, 3 years old. A lot of nights she'll just be crying before I go to night shift, and that really impacts me before I'm starting a 12, 13-hour shift for night. It is really tough mentally, and I feel sorry for the kids that I can't be there to play with them and do particular things as fathers would with their kids.
Those who work and temporarily live in WA are being offered incentives by the state government to permanently relocate, but the prospect of up and moving a family is not practical for everyone.
It's just something that we can't entertain, having a child with special needs. It's for us, if we were to move over there, we take away our support network, We've got family and friends here. We've got services that we utilise. We've got the support of the school. If we were to move to Western Australia, we'd have to go back onto wait lists. All the good work we've done the last 3 years with our autistic child would feel like it's for naught, and she'd be terribly anxious.
Jamie's partner has been fly-in, fly-out for the last 10 years. From WA, the pair moved to New South Wales just before the pandemic.
We didn't sign up for this. We didn't sign up thinking that we just would never know when they could come home. Just, sitting at home every day, wondering and waiting and hoping for an update as to when he can come home. It's just, not an easy lifestyle, but, they go away, they come home. But, yeah, just not knowing is the worst thing at the moment.
Mental health has always been an issue for the industry, but the pandemic has highlighted a worsening problem. Preliminary results of a survey of 275 fly-in, fly-out workers reveals the true extent of the current situation.
Now more than 40% of FIFO workers are reporting high or very high psychological distress, which is a large number. Really, 4 out of 10 are suffering.
A couple of weeks ago there was an attempted suicide there, but we've been told to keep that under the wraps. Western Australia's had nine deaths of COVID-19. I tell you what, the number could be nearly the same with mental health if things aren't sorted in the next few months.
It's something that plays on the mind of Townsville mother Linda every day.
He's going okay. I asked him today, are you going well? And he said, yes, Mum. He said, I'm okay. He said, I just wish that I can go home.
These are just some of the many families who are desperate to have their voices heard, to put an end to long, uncertain goodbyes.
Please just think about giving us an exemption. Essential workers, they get an exemption, but FIFO workers don't. Shorten the quarantine period, test them. They're tested more than the general public. Please just think about anything that you can do to help these guys out and help them come home to their families.
Premier McGowan, you've been able to get on top of the virus. These people are keeping your economy thriving. You're a Labor Premier, supposedly the workers' friend. Let the workers be able to see their families.